Okay, so thank you so much for being here. This is very special for me. I'm already emotional because of some later slides, but I'll get to that. So my name's John Capobianco. I'm the head of DevRel at Selector. I joined them about 18 months ago, leaving Cisco, formerly at the Parliament of Canada. And we're going to talk about from the CLI to the GPT. And I want to thank you for joining me on my flying saucer tour, where much like flying saucers, I've been appearing in front of a handful of people around the world, talking about things like AI and RAG and MCP, only to be looked at like a dog who's been shown a card trick, right? What is this guy talking about? So how did I get here from the CLI? I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. 1984, I get my first PC, a big box of parts, over 3,000 Canadian dollars. My dad probably could have bought a car, and no library books, no Google, right? Put it together like Lego, and we get the PC running. In 1986, my brother and I found out the hard way that Santa Claus wasn't real because we asked for a 2400 baud modem for Christmas. And my dad said, if you get that, that's the only thing you're getting for Christmas because of the cost, right? Boxing Day, we set up a bulletin board system. Does anyone remember BBSs? And this will become relevant, but we were one of Canada's first and eventually largest, and we were 8 and 10 years old. This actually, I found it from a 1996 website that's still alive. It's like 613 area code bbslistings.com or something. And that's me and my brother as sysadmins of the Backspace from 91 to 95. Quick story. My brother handwrites a letter to the Toronto Star because on Sundays they had a tech page that listed BBSs, right? Boys, we come into the kitchen. Why is our phone number in the Toronto Star, right? The next 3 months, they couldn't make a phone call. No one could call our house because we were literally listed in the Toronto Star weekly. To my parents' credit, they bought a second phone line. No kidding, right? And that's still my mother's phone number, so I'm obfuscating it. So 96 a little bit, I wasn't accepted into my original plan to be a computer programmer at Queen's. I fell back on an arts major. To be transparent, I went there 1 year, and I was put on academic probation for 3 years for taking over 80% of their campus with a botnet. Like I had email, database, horizontal access. Anyhow, because I couldn't go to school for 3 years, I found a private institution in Toronto called the Toronto School of Business. Turned out to be shut down by the government a year later as a Ponzi scheme, taking vulnerable people's money with the promise of a career in technology. So, 98, I end up as a United Steelworker in Local 343. 12-hour shifts, steel-toe boots, last number of hours since the last time injury, dangerous heavy work. Could barely take my boots off at the end of the day. Mindless, physical, low education work. After 2 years of that, I decided to go back to school, and I made arrangements with the union where I would give up my day shifts for night shifts and go to school during the day, sleep when I could, and go to work at night. I used to sleep in the lounge at the college with a sign saying, wake up for 10 o'clock class. Because if I went home and went to bed, I wouldn't go to school. So, I'd sleep in the lounge with this little sign, wake up for class, right? I did win an award for returning to school, and this always stuck with me. The ideal of lifelong learning. That's what I took out, not just my programming skills, but this idea of lifelong learning. And that's what it's about. It's about curiosity. That's all it is. So, paying dues, a bunch of short contracts, 3 months, 6 months, here and there, trying to get any work I could, trying to break into the field of technology. And the Limestone District School Board actually said, if you get your A+ and N+, you can join our union and get on full time. And that's what put me on the path of certifications. I joined Empire Life in Kingston, Ontario in 2005, became the senior network engineer because of a reorg. Quick story, I just got my Microsoft certified engineer, 11 exams. And I meet the CTO excited, and he's sad, and I don't know why. That's really great, but we've decided to reorg you to networks next week. I spent the last 6 years working on Microsoft certs. Why did they make that decision? I asked him. And he went into my file and he pulled out my Network Plus. You've got this. Thank you, thank you. So the 11 exams, the highest level of Microsoft cert, and the entry-level CompTIA Network Plus, and they're equivalent, right? Put them on networks, put them on networks. 2013, I moved to the Parliament of Canada, which was exactly what it sounds like, a greenfield, next-generation parliamentary precinct network, 45 buildings, including the Parliament, the Senate, the Library. We were an MSP, Senate, Library, Parliament, RCMP, security, multimedia, the whole thing. Very, very difficult job. AVD just came up. Did anyone see anything else about AVD? Did anyone here meet Carl Buckman this week? So, did you know that Carl was a senior architect from the VAR that the Parliament bought the equipment from, and him and I worked together for 7 or 8 years. Small world, right? And we're here presenting at the same conference years later. We built the disaster recovery with a one-push Ansible playbook that I believe evolved into the AVD project, and I'm so proud of Carl to know him. We could bring up a DR site in a push of a button in 45 minutes from cold to handling DR traffic with Ansible. We did Ansible very, very well at Parliament. The code was easy. It was the culture that was hard. But once we got everyone on board, the culture became easier and easier. Lower hanging fruit, higher hanging fruit, big wins, small wins. I decided after 4 years of this, a little bit out of ego, but more out of a necessity in the market, I saw a need for an Ansible book to automate Cisco equipment with Ansible. In all seriousness, it's a Jinja book decorated as an Ansible book, decorated as a Cisco book. Here's a tip though. If you self-publish a book in early 2019 and then get introduced to a new technology, pyATS, that same year, it hurts sales to go out and say, don't buy the book. There's a new technology you should be interested in. And I don't want anyone to ever maybe misunderstand. I've never said a bad word about Ansible. I love it. It's become the de facto tool. And I think maybe I helped popularize it or played a small part. But for various reasons, we decided to refactor all the Ansible code base to pyATS. Oh, by the way, does anyone not have this book? There's no reason you shouldn't. It's on my GitHub for free. I decided to open source it 2 years ago. So just go download the PDF. Speaking of pyATS, I completely fell in love with it and have been using it since 2019 for everything I do. I'm really disappointed to be maybe the first person to say pyATS this week. But Danny, Wade, and I shared a passion for pyATS, and we co-wrote the Cisco Pressbook for it. This will become more relevant. So let's get beyond some of this personal story stuff. Just a quick by the numbers. My therapist would hate to see these numbers, but 185 public Git repos, 275 videos, over 60 hours of content, dozens of public appearances. I don't charge a fee. If you have a podcast, a YouTube, just send me a message. I'd be happy to talk to you. Okay, so now my view of things. We all know the DevOps pipeline, but some of the numbers from Chris's survey really get me down. That 70% are still stuck in the first tier, traditional ops, manual, SNMP, syslog. 2000 comes around, and they have the Agile Manifesto. Has anyone read the Agile Manifesto? If you have not, just make a note of it. It plays a critical role in the path to network automation. So DevOps, we get Agile, we get CI/CD pipelines, we break down silos. Dev is doing ops, ops is doing dev. 15 years go by, and network engineers go, hey, maybe we should try that, right? And around 2015, which leads to infrastructure as code and automation. Right now, I believe we're in a mix of modes. We're in an AI ops age for the companies that are way out in front, using machine learning, supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and generative AI. I'm going to put this out into the universe. Who here is doing vibe coding? We've all heard of vibe coding. I'm going to put this out here. The next era is vibe operating. Vibe ops. I'm not kidding. How's the health of the Wi-Fi in Austin? Was that an API call? Was that a Python script? Did I click anything? No, I just asked. right? So we can all become vibrators. Yes, yes. So this is built on MCP, Model Context Protocol, and AI agents. And I'll talk a little bit more about AI agents to clarify them in a bit. This is the inflection point. Normal change, right, doesn't happen in normal times, rapid change. November 2022, ChatGPT 3.5. To me, it's like landing on the moon. It's like penicillin. It's like fire. It really is. Now, I live in the upper side, the optimism of this curve. But let's talk about some of the skepticism along the way with other inflection points. Computing. Bill Gates, 1991. Every home in the world will have at least one, if not three computers. Ha ha ha. Yeah, a computer, that hobby. We remember that, right? The skepticism. Internet. Paul Krugman, 1997. The internet will have no more economic impact on the world than the fax machine. Does anyone believe that to be true? I don't think so. Mobile, like my phone's my phone. Why do I need the internet? Why do I need apps? I don't get it. Cloud, I'm going to run my stuff on someone else's computer, haha, right? AI, we've all seen it. Slop, the negativity, the skepticism, the doubt, the FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, or fucking useless drivel. We keep going. React agents come out. MCP comes out. Autonomous browsing has come out. Now, this is the needle in a stack of needles. A needle in a haystack's an easy problem. You get a magnet, and you suck out the needle. Someone in the crowd actually once said, or you just set it on fire. But a needle in a stack of needles, where we have Cisco, Aruba, Juniper, Arista, Nokia, Wi-Fi, on-prem, firewalls, load balancers, that's just the enterprise. Now we've got to deal with our ISPs, diverse ISPs, east-west diversity, peering, BGP. And then we move into cloud, and not just one cloud, three clouds, a hybrid cloud, a private cloud. Okay, needles, even more needles. Now we talk about the tools we have to learn, the file formats we have to learn, the application layer, more needles on top of needles, right? Now, Selector did some research. The average enterprise is 38 network dashboards, 15 infrastructure dashboards, 47 dashboards, and if you're that senior person, you're looking at all 80 dashboards. Now, these are glasses of pain. These are not panes of glass, okay? Feel free to steal all this, by the way, yeah. Okay, so why? What drives me to do this? One, because I know what it was like to work in a factory and almost be killed to make $16 an hour, okay? Technology can raise us out of poverty. Technology is an equalizer, okay? Now comes some controversy. Let's stir it up a bit. AI is the required next step, period, full stop. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have, right? Our networks are beyond our collective capacities as humans. We have to accept this, right? We don't know how to run the machine anymore because the machine has grown so complex. Size, scale, complexity. 45 years of technical debt for some enterprises. Legacy tools going back to the 90s. Huge gaps in skills. Look at the survey, right? And industry atrophy. Now, when I was a young man, I used to disparagingly call my seniors the graybeards. In an ironic twist of fate, my beard has gone gray, right? These people atrophy out, right? I don't know how we still run mainframes with COBOL. Somehow human ingenuity's found a way. Is there a timer? Yeah, okay. So who here's, I went ahead too fast. Who here's familiar with the Gartner hype cycle? Yeah? So why and how do I do this? I've got a penthouse at the top of the peak of heightened expectations. I just live up there. I never go into the valley of despair, right? Oddly enough, this coincidentally coincides with the peak of Dunning-Kruger. So if you were to overlap those two images, I sort of sit right up there. There's not enough of the art of the possible out there. There's 30 years of SDP books and documentation and stuff. We don't need more of that. We need more of people saying, I tried this prompt against this router and here's my result, right? This is cool stuff, right? And be curious, lifelong learning with a passion for sharing. Okay, so when did it start for me? Why am I so enthusiastic, let's say, about AI? I started ChatGPT in November and I applied for an API key, and I got the key in December of 2022. The very first thing I did was connect pyATS to ChatGPT, meaning I did a pyATS job to go to show interfaces, which comes back as JavaScript object notation. I sent that with a prompt, are there any of these interfaces not healthy? Yes, these 3. And I sat like Gandalf by the fire whispering precious, thinking about this for like an hour. Show IP interface, LLM, right? Anyway, because prior to that, show interface was 19 discrete tests. Output drops, input drops, blah, 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 right? Test, 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 test. Well, can't I just send it the whole blob of data and not write these tests and have it tell me what's wrong? And I've just been, it had a profound impact on me, let's say. And AI is all I've ever wanted to do since. That was almost 3 years ago now. Some noteworthy creations. Some of these are pre-AI days. I just wanted to give you an idea about what's out there on my GitHub. I wrote something called Network Mind Map, which uses a format called markmap.js.org, fully interactive mind map of your network topology. All this is free and open source. Business-ready documents. Okay, who here does not have a documented network, a well-documented network? Would you say to yourself, it's not well-documented? Some people. And one of the things I got out of the survey is that people are still conflating network automation and configuration management. These are not the same. Automation is much wider, right? Documentation. pyATS job to get show this, show that, show run, blah, blah, blah. Get all the JSON, put it in a Git repo, maybe Jinja template it to a CSV file or a mind map, run that every 6 hours, and then you go, there's a problem. What's the first question you ask yourself? What changed? That's a quick git diff between the last hour's JSON and this hour's JSON. Oh, this interface got shut. Mean time to innocence, done. It's not just about the documentation, it's about living, breathing documentation. Anyone run ACI in the data center? Check out my ACI project, 250 APIs, 7 reports per API. We'll do the full stack asynchronously in about, it depends on your scale, but in a minute or 2. A dozen major organizations live and breathe by my ACI, which is kind of funny because it was just an open source project, but some people are like, please never take that down because our production systems are relying on your code, which makes me feel pretty good, right? I started to do ChatGPT extensions, which was, at the time, had you asked me, going to change the world and be the only thing we ever need. Things change. MCP is kind of an evolution of what those plugins used to be. One thing I'm really proud of is Packet Buddy, which lets you upload a PCAP file and talk to it. What's the source destination IP? Is this a malicious packet? Are there any retransmissions? What's the highest latency in this PCAP? No Wireshark. Who hates Wireshark? Okay, let me rephrase that. Who launches Wireshark 3 times a year when there's a P1 and you have to look at a PCAP? And then you've got to remember filters and this and that. What if you could get 90% of the way there with natural language? I started MCP in January, very early, just out of excitement. I read the Anthropic release, new protocol. Here's the key to MCP. Say it backwards. As network people, you'll understand it by saying it backwards. It's a protocol that provides context to the model. Does that clear anything up? That's all it is. I wrote a pyATS MCP server, of course, because I love pyATS. So you can literally say, add a loopback. I did that in my workshop earlier in the week. There's one for ICE, ACI, a subnet calculator. Has anyone started using Gemini CLI? I'll come to this later, but the CLI is dead. Long live the CLI. It's a CLI, just like the TN3270 emulator, but I can plug it into MCPs, and it's backed by an LLM. Did you know I can start a session, and it watches all of my session, and I can ask it for a summary of what I just did on this router? Because that terminal becomes part of the context. Did I get any IPs wrong? I have my intent in a local file. Could you compare what I just configured to my intent? I see some smiles, I see some light bulbs, good. Okay, things I hope you're already doing. Using Git, using Python or Ansible or both, ideally using some Docker, ideally using some Kubernetes, ideally using a CI/CD pipeline. Ideally using pyATS, but I'll accept other Python frameworks or even Ansible. I just mentioned I hope you have a fully automated documented network, a fully mind map or topology network. And with pyATS, again, automation is not configuration management alone. How do I start safely with network automation? Read-only activities, right? Show commands to document and show commands that you run tests against. I don't want to say completely harmless or without fail or error, but it's much safer than starting with, I'm going to push a BGP config through Ansible, right? Start with, I'm going to use Ansible to document my network. Then I'm going to use pyATS to test my network. Does anyone here know if every interface on their network is clean? Nobody. pyATS in one job, show interfaces, run those tests, get a report, and pinpoint where your drops are, or your congestion is, or your pain points. Perfectly, and a management-approved approach. Any risk? Nope. Any value? Yep. Then when you want to do configuration management, you've earned the trust. Am I over? How are we doing? Wait. Things you think you should be doing next. Does anyone use Copilot in their IDE? Or use Cursor, or things like that? I see a good mix, good. Using the augmented CLIs. There's more than just Gemini CLI. Now, you hear a lot about AI agents. I want to clarify. I like to call them specifically React agents, and not React like the Java framework, as in reasoning and action. ChatGPT 4 introduced the idea of reasoning. It also introduced this idea of tool calling. All right, so that's what a React agent is. It can reason and take action in the form of calling tools. Those tools are typically model context protocol servers. Okay? MCP, try retrieval augmented generation. If you're afraid of hallucinations, or if hallucinations is the thing holding you up about using AI, you can drastically reduce hallucinations with a process known as retrieval augmented generation. Google, by the way, has just offered RAG as a service. It's called File Service. You upload your PDF, you start chatting with it. Hallucination free, 15 cents per million tokens. Start looking at vendors like Selector. And incorporate AI into literally everything you do. Everything, everything. Just like the internet or the browser or Google is part of your daily life now, make your LLM work for you. A $20 investment a month could have thousands of dollars in ROI as a personal investor, individual contributor. If your organization is not ready for this, this is your opportunity to become the CTO. If you bring forward the AI ideas, you bring forward the guardrails, the models, OLAMA, on-prem, in the cloud, how do we do this safely? This could be your next big step in your career. Digital coworkers are here. We are the last generation to work with purely biological beings, right? That Slack message I send to Joe to do something, in the future could be a React agent that just does the thing, and you have no idea. Or you are aware that it's an agent and not a digital being. We have customers at Selector doing full closed loop, no human in the loop, self-healing networks via agents with autonomy. Pretty scary? Does that scare anyone? Or does anyone see that as the natural conclusion of this, is that we're going to have digital coworkers? So autonomous browsing, has anyone seen this by chance? So Gemini has computer use at the CLI, and you can say, here's my example, and I've done this, and I have a video out there of this. In a prompt, please launch the browser in headless false, so I can see the browser. You could do headless mode behind the scenes. Launch Netbox with admin, and add a site called AutoCon4. I put my hands up. The browser opens, goes to Netbox, clicks in username, types in admin, password, enter, expands the menu, click site, click add, like this, watching it. It just does it. Autonomous browsing. The whole way we interface with the World Wide Web is going to change. The mouse, point and click days, on the way out. Natural language is here. CLI is dead, long live the CLI. I believe in a soft landing. I'm a utopianist, I'm an optimist. There was 14,000 human beings in the sub-Sahara before we migrated north. How many billions of us are there now? We will solve these problems. We will solve the energy, the clean water, the token usage, the inference, the quality. Right now, it's the Atari era of AI. Compare an Atari to a PS5, and you'd have no idea that we could get to a PS5 from a 4-bit Atari. In my lifetime, that has happened, right? So we've always adapted, we've always survived, and we're living inside of a major upheaval, not just a technology upheaval, a societal upheaval. Who thinks there's more or less accountants in the world since Lotus 1-2-3? Did Excel eliminate accountants? If anything, there's more accountants. But they're not churning away on the old school things. They're working on policy, strategy, security, investment. They've elevated the whole idea of accounting with a simple spreadsheet, right? On the same question, right, 5 years ago, when I started the network automation thing, some of the same people that doubt AI doubted network automation. You're going to automate yourself out of a job. We're not going to need network engineers. It's all going to be automated. Are there more or less network engineers now than 10 years ago? Right? Roughly the same or more. So, about the cultural and societal changes. Has anyone been paying attention to this stuff? Finland is paying artists $1,500 a month to be artists. Ireland, $1,800 a month to be artists, to offset the impact on AI on artistry. Canada, where I'm from, and I'll tell the side story in a second, has Bill S-206, National Framework for Guaranteed Livable Income, likely by 2030. I can't help myself. I know I'm in America and that sounds terribly socialist, but that's just how we do things up there. Okay? Don't blame me, it's just our policy. So what's the best part of my job in my life is this. This right here. I'm having the time of my life. I'm inspiring people, I'm making friends. I get to work with the smartest people probably on earth. Network engineers and network automators and artificial intelligence enthusiasts. By the way, I say enthusiast about myself. If you ever catch me saying I'm an AI expert, slap me. Because I'm not. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm curious. And I know enough Python to be dangerous. Okay? So the best part is community. And it's a global village. Now, I hesitated to just do a wall of names, because if you don't see your name and you're close to me, I knew I've probably missed at least 5, 10, 20 people. But these people had a significant impact for me being here today. Just bear with me. Does anyone remember Nick Russo? Please continue to remember Nick Russo. Him and I met 10 years ago, and I worked with him at Cisco for the last 4 months of his life very closely. In Nick Russo fashion, he took 2 years of my work and made a 60-page PowerPoint that he shared with senior leadership at Cisco. a huge fan of my work, and a very good friend. I'm a little worried that time is going to atrophy his work, his plural sites, his books, his podcasts. Just keep him in your memory. Now, the next one's harder because it's fresh. On October 27th, I heard on the radio that there was a car accident in Ottawa, and a man was killed. And I found out on Saturday that that man was the best friend of mine for 40 years. He was going to be my guest here today. He worked at Bell Canada for 20 years. He leaves behind an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old and a wife. Just like that, car accident. The last message is, can we go golfing? And I say, I'm in Santa Clara, I can't make it. So, I've put some messages on my LinkedIn. You can find his GoFundMe. If I've done anything for you, think of doing this one thing for me and support him. So some closing thoughts. Unlike network automation, AI is not a niche nice to have. Unlike network automation, AI actually does make things easier. It actually makes things easier. But like network automation, AI faces fierce resistance, even more fierce, from the broader networking community. Okay? Please be optimistic. Please see the value. Please have hope and believe in a utopian outcome. Because we built the current digital world together, and we're going to continue to build the future together, right? So, all I can say is get on this train now. Standing on the side watching the train zip by is not getting you anywhere. Something that I'm going to leave you with, a little controversial, when I see the 70% and 30% number, okay, and I'm terribly sorry to say this, the industry's not going to upskill 70% of us. It's going to replace us with agents. That's the reality of it. How do we upskill that many people? You don't. You get rid of them. You displace them. That 30% are going to be the ones building the agents that replace the ones that can only use a CLI, that cannot write code, that cannot interface with an LLM. With that, I will take questions. Thank you. Thank you. There's got to be a question. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Bart Dorland. First of all, condolences to your friend. So, you haven't talked about it. I have seen it recently. I think you have as well. Tone, right? For
yes.
the token object notation, something.
Object notation, yeah.
Have you played with it?
Oh,
or
absolutely.
What, obviously.
Do I have a minute to talk about this protocol? Do you want me to take it from there? Thank you for teeing me up. So JavaScript object notation, mustaches, that's what I call the curly braces, mustaches, white space, equal signs, character breaks, it's verbose. 7 days ago, and this is my social awkwardness, right? Hey, John, how you been? Have you heard of Tune? Right? Did you know that you could save 60% on tokens? Can we slow down? Like, how's your family? Like, how have you been, right? So Tune is an encoder, and it's just a new file format. And you can read it, it's still human readable. It looks like an object. It's not flat like a CSV, so you can still represent lists and dictionaries of lists or lists of dictionaries. And I tried it. I tried 4 show commands with pyATS. Show IP interface brief, 27% less tokens. Okay? Show version was 30, show interface was 18, and show boot var was like 40% less tokens. The obvious follow-up is, but is it any good? But does quality go down because I'm sending Tune? Actually, it goes up by 8 to 10%. That's subjective John saying, when I do it with JSON and I do it with Tune, same prompt and the same payload, I feel like this answer is better. Okay? So less tokens, faster, better. It's almost one of these too good to be true. Like, why wouldn't you do it? The other thing is, it's not a rewrite like Python to Go or Rust or something. It's a one-line npx shim. So if I've got a nice pipeline, and my last step says send JSON to the LLM, insert the shim, npx tune-CLI, JSON file, tune file, send the tune, Two ends of the scale. Do you think I like spending $500 a month on tokens that you can't feel and touch? It's just answers and letters on the screen. I don't like spending that kind of money. So if I could reduce that by 60%, that's huge. If I'm ISPX and I'm spending 1 million of tokens a month, I can get that down to 300,000. That is not insignificant. And for people who care about ecology, it's less power, it's less cooling, it's less waste. Or someone else brought this up to me, they said, you know, that's a great perspective about saving money, but what if you keep spending $100 a call, but now you can put 60% more data in the context window? So it works in both directions. Thank you, Bart. Does that help?
Oh yeah, well, I was aware of it. I thought
Just
more
team
people.
me up. Yeah, no, thank you.
So the other part is, right, you talked about companies might or might not be afraid of accepting AI and going towards that, right? But so the theoretical part is, are they already ready? So whenever they go to AI, do you think this should be onboarded right off the bat for them? Or is it like, well, just try it first and feel experience?
I think it's going to be a different journey for each enterprise and each individual on how we get to AI and our comfort level. Some people it's about trust. Some people it's just a mental block. Some people feel guilty. Someone came to me earlier explaining how they've been using AI and they get this awesome code or an awesome blog post, and I didn't write it. You know, I feel morally conflicted about this, and I'm just like, get over it, right? Like, just deal with it, man. Like, forget it, right? And so then I say, well, that doesn't help. Okay, would that blog post have been generated without your original prompt and thoughts and tone and whatever? And that made them feel moderately better, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart.
Hi, John. I haven't been able to say hi yet, but hi.
Hi, nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. For the room, I'm Shannon. I work at Internet 2. And my question is, I recently actually gave a talk kind of talking about like, what are the ways that network engineers use AI? And I remember you and I talked a while back, and I was thinking, packet captures, couldn't that be a good use case for it? And you've done lots of work on it since then. But I remember recently doing some tests, and my question is this, and it might be a pretty bad question.
No such thing.
So when it's that time of the year to inspect a packet capture, we know that there's going to be something going on in it because the user's complaining. If we were to feed that to an LLM that we can get off the shelf, like Claude or something in Copilot or Cursor, which is something I did, why does it seem like it's really terrible right now at that unless you do significant prompt crafting?
Right.
Yes.
So just to clarify, you're uploading a PCAP to ChatGPT kind of directly?
Well, in my example, I'm actually pointing, and this could be a part of the problem. I'm using Cursor, and I point it at a local file on my system that's a PCAP.
Right.
And it uses a tool like T-Shark.
Yes. Okay. So a way to improve that or reduce your hallucinations is to insert retrieval augmented generation in there. So that JSON would end up as vectors in a vector store, and there would be a semantic lookup between your prompt and the distance to the vector of the source IP or destination IP or whatever. Now, it's funny how time moves. I put 2 years into Packet Buddy, right? I did this a while ago, and I've been refactoring and iterating and making it really good. And at Wireshark Fest in Poland, he didn't mean to burst my bubble or anything, but a guy came up with his laptop and he goes, look, ChatGPT 5.1 supports PCAP. I can just upload it to them. Well, shit. And I was like, oh, okay, like, that's cool. I guess we'll cancel the workshop, everyone. Like, thanks for coming, you know? And then he's like, do you think they learned from your code, since it's all open source, on how to do this? I said, well, that makes me feel good. Sure, yeah, I'll take that. So that's the story I'm going with. They learned from my code and how to do it with chat. So, but Gemini 3, but don't get the wrong idea. Please don't take a production PCAP and drop it in ChatGPT and start talking to it. Please do not do that. John at AutoCon said, right? So, does that help?
That does help. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. Another question over here. Wonderful.
Yeah, hi, thank you. This has been a great talk. My name's Gene Reeder. I'm from Oracle Health. My question for you is, how do you push forward, or how do you suggest we push forward using AI tools when we think of corporations where we don't have access to AI in as many ways, right? We're very limited in what I'm allowed to use.
That's right. So in a gold rush, sell shovels, right? And what's NVIDIA been doing? Selling a lot of shovels, right? So for the enterprises that, let's just call it, from a traditional terminology, air-gapped, is what you're saying. I can't go to the cloud where an LLM lives. Kind of two options here. Neither of them cheap. Enter an agreement with Azure, with ChatGPT, with Anthropic, where they're guaranteeing you that they're not learning from your data and that you're geo-fenced or walled garden. Option one is to find a way to use the cloud, but not a public cloud. The alternative is, has everyone heard of OLlama? Not Llama the model, but OLlama? Anyone not? Okay, so OLlama is something that you can download, and download models like Gemma 3 or 5.4. I shouldn't say those back to back, that sounded funny. And you pull the LLM on-prem, but the thing is you're going to need GPUs to do that. But maybe not a lot of GPU. OLlama will run on a Raspberry Pi. It's slow, one token at a time. But if you could find a way to work with your org to say, can we get some budget for a H2 or H100 card in a nice pizza box? We'll put OLlama on it and start doing local inference. Now, even something like RAG, you can download embeddings models locally to do the vectorizing. And ChromaDB is an example of an offline vector store. So you could DIY this stuff.
Yeah,
and
it just would
OLlama's
make it
got a
more
REST
hard.
API that you could send your inference to.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the root of the problem, is where that data lives has to be local to me.
Right, and you want the LLM as close to the data as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. Just a protocol you may want to look at is Rocky V2 for anyone looking at that alternative of building their own back-end fabric with GPUs. There's InfiniBand, NVIDIA proprietary, Rocky V2, which is Ethernet. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, it's my favorite software developer.
Hey, John.
How you doing, John?
Good question. What's your opinion on if, based on the rate of change in AI and LLMs right now, does that risk increasing technical debt as part of our adoption?
That is a challenge. I think the challenge is, when do I jump in the stream? With a fear of, if I invest all this now, is the next model or the next GPU or whatever going to come out before I've realized the return on my initial investment? It's like buying a stereo in the 80s, right? And by the time you get home, the next one's on the boat over, right? In terms of increasing technical debt, I think you're right. I think you're onto something here. Swapping models could lead to a lot of regression testing. How is my inference when I move from Gemma 2.5 or Gemini 2.5 to Gemini 3? Right? Are my answers still high quality? And so there's it's kind of a weird area on how you regression test, say, a model switch or even a provider switch, right?
Right. Yeah, or even like you were talking about Tune earlier, right?
Yes.
So like if everything's built around JSON, now I got to refactor everything, right?
Right.
For a new schema or a
True.
new format, or if when that changes again.
Not to be
like,
flippant,
right?
but the only constant is change.
Fair.
Right?
Right. So thank you.
Thanks, John. Anybody else? Anything else? Did I not address anything? Okay, make sure you please connect with me on LinkedIn, like and subscribe, my YouTube, and all that stuff. And again, if you want to vibe cub with me some evening, have me on your podcast, just please let me know. This has been the highlight of my Flying Saucer tour. Thank you so much. Thanks, buddy.